Hello and welcome to season 4 of the NGO Whisperer show. My name is Dr. Carolyne Opinde. I am the founder of the NGO Whisperer and the convener of the NGO Whisperer Masterclass, the official sponsors of the NGO Whisperer show. Joining us today from Orlando, Florida in the United States of America is Stephanie Bowman. She is the founder of One Heart for Women and Children. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I am honored and I cannot wait to share some of my story.
Thank you so much. We are truly honored to have a humanitarian, a philanthropist who has been featured in so many shows and magazines around the world. And she's here today to share her story, looking at the work that she's doing under her nonprofit, One Heart for Women and Children. Stephanie, share with us, who is Stephanie Bowman and what inspired you to start this nonprofit, One Heart for Women and Children?
So my name is Stephanie Bowman, and I'm the founder of One Heart for Women and Children, although that does not define me. I'll tell you, on many different stages or in rooms, sometimes I ask myself, or I will introduce myself as, my name is Stephanie, I'm a recovering alcoholic, or I'm a recovering addict, or I'm a survivor of domestic violence. And part of that, what I want to say is that ultimately, we are all human beings that want to be loved. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. And we're here to connect with each other on so many levels to help make an impact, a direct impact into the lives of others, one heart at a time.
Tell us your story about recovery from cancer. You know, my father passed on. You know, he had prostate cancer. So I have a very soft spot in my heart for people who have recovered. You know, we did not achieve that with my dad, but I do everything within my power to support organizations that work with cancer survivors or even patients who are living with cancer. So share with us what your story was like and how you walked through it, because someone out there might be going through the same and is looking for encouragement and comfort.
I love that question. I was 18 months clean and sober. It was in the year 2000. And I was diagnosed with my first cancer. I'm a 7-time cancer survivor to date. But in the year 2000, I was 18 months clean and sober, and I was diagnosed with, it's called choriocarcinoma. It was from a tubular pregnancy. It was it was spreading through my different organs, but it was also in my blood. It was in my uterus. And when I went to the emergency room before being diagnosed, I was on the stage sharing my story with about 158 women. I was sharing my story of recovery, and I passed out. They took me to the emergency room. And I share that because, you know, there's a lot of times when we're not feeling well and we're like, oh, you know, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. It'll pass. It doesn't always do that. And I want to say, really pay attention to your body. And if you don't know how to pay attention to your body, learn how to be your best advocate, because I'll tell you that each time I've been diagnosed, something has been happening in my body where I just did not feel right. And I went to the hospital and each time, you know, found out that I had cancer again. I've also had 15 surgeries and 38 procedures. I don't take any of it lightly. I also know that each and every time I've been diagnosed or told I had to have a surgery, I've had doctors that have prayed with me. I've had nurses that have prayed with me. I've had people in my inner circle that have just prayed for the doctors, prayed for the utensils that were going to be in my body, and prayed for whole healing from me. So I want to go back and share real quickly about the very first time I was diagnosed. I thought, why me? I'm 18 months clean and sober. Why in the world would God allow me to be clean and sober and living this beautiful life and then get cancer? What I know to be true is that God did not give me cancer. That I know. I believe that it was another experience that God trusted me with, that I was able to heal from that with a lot of support and love, not only from my family, but I learned at that time to share my story, share the struggles, so that other people that had already walked through that could share their experience, strength, and hope with me.
It's amazing. You are a living miracle. 7-time cancer survivor. And here you are, not downing your tools, but saying, I still need to do more. You're not retiring. You're not saying, I'm going to take a back seat. I am going to help other women. I'm going to support them and their families, which speaks to the work that you do right now with One Heart for Women and Children. What inspired you to set up this nonprofit?
So 22 years ago, I found myself homeless with my children due to domestic violence. And I was already, I'd already crossed that line of addiction. I was trying to mask the pain in my marriage, and I started to drink, and I found myself all the way down at a very rock bottom, which was smoking crack cocaine. Went from working at a bank and to literally being homeless with my children. And all of that within just a few days. When I say all of it just in a few days, working at a bank and then making that decision, I made that conscious decision to leave. I left the domestic violence because I knew we could not take it anymore. And we ended up homeless for the next 5 weeks. While we were homeless, my daughters did not, they didn't deserve to be out where we were. They did not, they didn't deserve any of that. So I was praying one day and saying, God, if you are real, if you are whole, I need you now. I can tell you at that time, I felt dirty. I felt ashamed from the things that I was doing. I had hit rock bottoms that things I had never done before. I went from being abused to being the abuser. And I was praying for God to intervene. And I'll tell you, there was a divine intervention. There were people that were looking for us, and they found us. They removed my children from me. My children went to foster care, so they went into an amazing, loving home. We still have a relationship with the foster family today, and then this is 22 years later. But my children went to foster care, and I was faced with that decision. Do I go to jail for some of the things that I've done? And I know that I would have ended up in prison. Or do you want to go to detox and then go to treatment? And I decided that that was the better for me. So I went to treatment, and after graduating, got my kids back. And while I was in treatment, what I learned is that I had to face myself. I had to face everything that I had walked through, the people that I had harmed. And while I was walking through that process, I had an amazing woman that was a mentor of mine, and her name is Aretha. Aretha is still in my life today, and she helped me to start One Heart. But I'll tell you that during that journey, Aretha kept praying for me and praying with me and telling me that I was worth something, that I was a woman of God, that God didn't make any junk, and that I too had a responsibility to be able to go into the community and freely give back what was given to me because I had another chance.
That is wonderful that you were able to give back to the community after you had received help. The same measure that you receive, you gave back and so much more. And we thank God for people like Aretha who step into our lives and not just give us a handout, but a hand up and to step up. So with One Heart for Women and Children, share with us what your program model looks like, where you work, and who do you really serve in the community? I know you've mentioned women and children, but I know it goes beyond that.
So when we first started in 2008, we just wanted to help connect people to the resources that they needed, whether it was food or clothing, life coaching, if they needed help with an apartment or deposits for their for utilities. And what we found is people wanted to help. Other people in the community wanted to jump in and not only volunteer their time, but their strengths and help financially. As we know, as a nonprofit organization, they all three go hand in hand. We need all three of those. Prior to the pandemic, we were helping about 3,000 people each month, men, women, and children. What we found really quickly after we started One Heart is that we did not want to turn anybody away. Anybody that needed food or clothing or personal care items. So right now, what we help is with those immediate needs, along with counseling, mostly through food. What we find is when people have, as a human being, when we have fresh produce, when we have the ability to have fresh food at our fingertips, as we have that fresh food, what we know is mind, body, spirit starts to change. What we see is a change in health. We see a change in education. We see a change. Many women that have come to us saying that they had cancer, and we were able to help them with a juicer and fresh produce. So when you ask, what do we do? I think sometimes I almost feel, what do we not do? What do we not do? We are here to open up the door in the morning, close the door in the evening, and whoever needs our services or needs to be seen or heard or loved that day, that is what our mission and that is what our job is.
Wonderful. You have a program for the homeless. You have a pantry food program where you give food and you distribute food. I know you mentioned that before the pandemic, you were reaching about 3,000 individuals. Yes. I know that has multiplied so much more. Share with us what's happening right now.
Absolutely. So we're helping we are servicing over 20,000 people each month right now. So prior to the pandemic, we averaged about 3,000 people each month, and majority of the community that were coming in to get food were families that were either homeless, getting ready to face homelessness, underserved, and some of them really were falling through the cracks of of society, where they didn't know where to go next because they were told no, or the door had shut so many times. Now what we're watching in this last 15 months of the pandemic is we're helping more on the prevention side of becoming homeless. We've been able to help a lot of our homeless friends. We call them our friends, not our clients. We've been able to help a lot of them with other resources. So now the families that we're helping are families that have lost their jobs, their savings accounts are gone, and it's a matter of, do we pay our health insurance this month, or do we buy fresh food for our family? So we say, you pay your bills, you come in here and we'll help you with the food. We have never run out of food at One Heart. Never, even helping 20,000 people each month. And it's because of our community. It's because we've stepped up and we use social media a lot. I love social media for asking what our needs are. We are not afraid to ask for our needs. And I love that. We are not afraid to ask. And I can tell you 100% of the time, when we ask for those needs, and we don't ask for more than what we need, when we ask for those needs, they come. Once a month, we have what we call a mobile food distribution. And we set up in one central location, and we provide anywhere from 32 to 72,000 pounds of food that we give out literally in 2 hours. We have over 100 volunteers with us each month when we do that. So the days that we cannot service the amount of people that we need to out of our walls of One Heart for Women and Children, we have people that come with trucks and they help us to take food out to over 400 people each and every morning.
That is wonderful. Partnership is key in the work that you do, and we will get into that shortly. The thrift store that you have and that you run, share with us how you get the clothing that is in the store and how you distribute it.
I love that. We have 5,000 square feet that is our thrift store, and our thrift store is only open one day a week, which happens to be on Saturday from 8 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock. So in 6 short hours, only 4 times a month, our thrift store is open, where the community can come in. Anybody can come in and donate, but they can also come in and shop. So our clothes are literally $1 up to $5. So you can come in and buy something that might have a $150 tag on it, literally for $5. So we like to keep it super inexpensive, so that anybody and everybody can come in. Now, what I will say is, if somebody comes in and they don't have any money and they need clothes or hygiene items or a bicycle or shoes or a tent, sleeping bag, many of those, even if they've just moved into a place and they don't have money for a bed or a couch, some of the furniture that they need, we always have people that are volunteering that help gift their hours, which I'll tell you about in just a minute. They gift those vouchers that they've received to the next person that might need something. So we have what we call is it's a volunteer to voucher program. So as people, anybody that comes in and volunteers, they volunteer, and if they don't need those vouchers, which most of our volunteers don't, then they leave the vouchers with us, so that the next person that comes in that's in need can receive those items. So some of our clients do come in and they'll volunteer for 2 or 3 hours, and then they leave with a bicycle, or they leave with 10 outfits. So we're somebody's always volunteering their time to help that next person.
What a great model. What about the work that you do with your education program? I'm really interested to learn more about it.
I'm a life coach, and we have 4 other life coaches at One Heart for Women and Children. We also help with counseling, but I teach parenting classes in 4 different women's shelters. And with that, we're really teaching women how to live life differently, how to interact with their children differently. And when I say differently, majority of the mothers that we work with are just getting clean and sober, or have just walked through some type of trauma. So now we are helping them to heal that hurt and teaching them how to love themselves again first, because we have to learn how to parent ourselves before we can be a parent to our children or anybody else. We also have another great program, and it is time management, money management, stress management curriculum, where in the last week we tie it all together. And what I find is that there's a lot of women and some men that by the time they get here, they say the common statement that we hear is, I only make $500 a month. Why do I need to have a budget? And what we say is, it's the best time ever, so that they can learn where that money is going. Having that time management and that time schedule, along with that budget, is just so important for each and every one of us.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So from the food pantry to your outreach program to the thrift store and education program, there's so much that you do. And I just want people to understand that your program is not static. It is a program that's responding to community needs. When you identify a need in the society, in the community that you work, you rise up to the occasion. What plans do you have in the future as your program evolves and expands and One Heart for Women and Children grows?
So we are right now looking at 2 different properties to start 2 other thrift stores, which from last night to this morning, that second one came into place. So when I answered the question, when I was talking about some of, as I was talking about some things, as of yesterday, it was only one thrift store. And now we're looking at another one that is about 45 minutes from here. And one of our board of directors will actually be managing that because the community that he lives in is wanting to start a little mini One Heart. So we are always working somewhere, somehow, right? Trying to figure out, how do we maximize the space we have? Although, how do we duplicate what we have? So we're looking at two different thrift stores. Our thrift store is only open just the one day because we don't mix money, the thrift store, with our community food pantry. So they're two total separate days. With that being said, your question was, what do we plan on doing? We're on a 2-year goal to start a women and children's shelter, safe home, and it will be called A Safe Place to Land. We are looking for property right now. We do have some investors that are eager to help us to find that place. So within the next 2 years, we will have expanded not only to having a women and children's shelter, but we will also have 2 more thrift stores that will be able to be open all week long.
Wonderful. And people may wonder, you do all this work and you work with amazing people as partners, organizations, corporations. Give us maybe 2 or 3 examples of institutions or corporations that you work with to do this amazing work in the community.
Absolutely. Second Harvest Food Bank is one of them. And they're one of our large nonprofit organizations where we go 2 to 3 times a week right now. And we pick up anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 pounds of food. Along with that, they deliver over 1,000 boxes of food to us 5 days a week, on top of us going there and picking things up. So without that partnership, we would not be able to help provide the amount of food, healthy food options to our community. That's one of them. Another one is Trader Joe's. When they move into a community, they find one nonprofit organization to work with to donate the food that they either can't sell anymore. Maybe there's one grape that is spoiled, or they've now ordered X amount of food and they have to donate X amount of food. We pick up every single day, 7 days a week, anywhere between 750 pounds of food up to 1,200 pounds of food every single day. So the days that our food pantry is not open, we go and we pick the food up, and then we hand deliver it to hotels, to some of our homeless friends, some of our senior citizen communities. We make sure every single bit of that food goes out that day.
Great partnership right there. And I know there are going to be more partnerships coming up in the next few months as you go into your 2-year program for future expansion and enhancement of your program model. Now, people may also wonder, what does it take for a family, an individual, to benefit from your the food pantry or the education program or the thrift store? How do you invite communities to come in? Is it through social media? Share with us.
First, I want to say we invite anybody and everybody that has a need to come to One Heart. Because if we don't have the resource, we help find that resource. There's nobody that has left One Heart in 14 years without the resources that they need, which is beautiful. And I think that that's also why we have the partners that we have, and we use social media is our best friend. So we use social media, letting people know, especially if we have something new that has just come in, whether it's a certain size diaper or a special formula. But your question was, how do clients find us? So we use social media. We have 17 schools that we've partnered with. So the schools sometimes have already vetted the families, where by the time they get to us, they've got paperwork and they can come in. We have hospitals. We receive calls almost every day from hospitals for families individuals that are coming out of the hospital that are in need of certain items. We also have things posted in libraries, counseling centers, and we're on the news often.
What a great program. You have strategies in place to ensure that the community know where to get help, and you have the right partnerships. Now, what message do you have for governments, for civil society, for good citizens around the world on how to improve the lives of people in their community, not just women, not just children, but people in the community, and also speaking about agriculture and good food, because you mentioned at the beginning that with good nutrition, that is the key, that is the core part of it. When we eat well, then we can access anything else that we need in our lives. What message do you have for us all with regards to that?
I love that, because there's so much land that's not being used. So what I would say is, if you have land, if you have property, wherever that might be, or if you're a grocery store, or you have that food that you can donate, what we find is there's a lot of land that is not being utilized. There are a lot of farms that, after the food has been taken off and now it's going to be sold, there's always fruits and vegetables that are left behind. We have people that can go and there's many other places in communities where there are volunteers, people willing to go and glean the rest of the food. Also, if you're a grocery store or you have access to fresh foods, instead of it going into the dumpster or into the landfill, if you can find a nonprofit organization, a community food pantry, to ask if they need it.
What last message do you have for anyone who wants to make a difference in their society and they're wondering, what can I do?
Every single one of us can make a direct impact into the life of another human being. And sometimes it's just a simple smile to the next person that's next to you, because that ripple effect goes so far. So something so small and meaningful, all the way up to, if you have a corporation or you have funds to be able to donate, there's a lot of nonprofit organizations that would not be running right now if month to month they did not have the financial donations coming in. We just started a campaign, and we are looking for, so One Heart for Women and Children is looking for 500, we call them heartbeat sponsors. In 1 week, we have 22. That heartbeat sponsor, it's $100 financial donation online on our website, making a 12-month commitment. So it's a reoccurring donation for 12 months plus. And with being that heartbeat sponsor, when we get to that 500, that is what it takes every single month to run One Heart for Women and Children. It's almost $50,000 a month. And that is because we do have to buy some food. And that is with all the other resources and our rent and the administrative fees. That is not payroll for anybody. That is that's just the bare bones. So with 500 heartbeat sponsors, is a beautiful way. When we think about $100 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to a lot of people. I can also say $100 to other people is one dinner out for your family. So we challenge people to often, we challenge people often on social media with, could you imagine if you didn't buy coffee out for 1 month and you donated that money? You know what an impact that could make? And it's that same thing, that if one person just didn't buy coffee out for 1 month, if they're used to buying a cup a day, that $100 could help 100 people with 16 plus meals.
Wonderful. Where can people find you on social media?
On Facebook, One Heart for Women and Children, which also, if you go into One Heart Matters, either way, you'll find us. On Instagram, One Heart Matters. And our website is One Heart Orlando. You can also get to our website through our old login, which is oneheartforwomenandchildren.org.
Wonderful.
Can I add one more thing?
Carry on.
Often we hear people say, I don't have anything to give and I can't donate. I don't know what that looks like. I don't have 8 hours that I can come out. And again, I want to say each and every person can help make that impact. We have 3 women right now that called a couple weeks ago asking how they could help, but they're bedridden. So they're making cards for people and just literally randomly mailing cards to people. Again, something so small, but yet so meaningful. So I want to say, if you don't think that you have the time or the strength or the finances to donate or to volunteer your time, I want to say, get creative, because there's a way for each and every one of us to be able to give freely some of our time.
Indeed, there is a way that each and every one of us can give freely of our time, of our resources, or even our expertise, something that we know how to do, just like the women who are bedridden, but they are making beautiful cards and sending them to people to bring hope and joy in their lives. Thank you so much, Stephanie Bowman, for joining us today at the NGO Whisperer Show.
Thank you very, very much. One heartbeat at a time, I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We invite you to join Stephanie Bowman and the team at One Heart for Women and Children as one of their heartbeat sponsors and contribute to helping women and children in Orlando, Florida. And as we know, this is just the beginning. This program is replicable, it is effective, it is scalable, and can be implemented anywhere around the world, because we know wherever there are people, there's always a need. Thank you so much. Join us on the NGO Whisperer Masterclass. Every month we offer a free 2-hour masterclass and also a 4-week masterclass. Alongside that, we have our NGO Whisperer Global Fellowship Program, the first ever, the inaugural NGO Whisperer Global Fellowship Program is running from the 1st of July to December 2021 with a graduation ceremony in January 2022. We have already shortlisted the people who will be joining us. They are founders of nonprofits and social enterprises, and we cannot wait to see how these people are going to evolve and grow, and in return, impact lives of people through their nonprofits and social enterprises. Watch this episode and many others on the NGO Whisperer channel on YouTube, and follow us on social media. As always, it's all about connecting people, raising funds, and impacting lives globally.